Good. Now's that time when you look at everybody and be like, is that seat open? Is that seat open? You got me? Right? I went to the bathroom, someone took my seat. Do I got another friend that got my seat? Right? So we got plenty of seats. Wow. We have made it, the 10th year of iLead happening. Give yourselves a round of applause, right? Right? The last time we were together was this morning. Right? And hopefully your friends are still here because that's what it's all about. Leadership development at its finest with all of us and all of you fine people. My name is Juan Izaguirre, and I serve as the Associate Director in the Webinar Center for Lead and Service Learning. Right? That's what I'm talking about, and I'm not even the speaker. It's all good. Right? So it is my honor to welcome you to our session called I Lead the World, ... as an entrepreneur. It is my honor to tell you all that we have 6 phenomenal speakers that will grace this stage. Each one of them has a message that is powerful, and I'm saying this because I've seen their speeches and I've seen them practice, and I have been moved by that, by their message. They're going to talk about the risks they've taken, the opportunities that they have sought, and of course, how they've grown from failures. But that's, I want you to get ready for it, all right? Because again, I am not your speaker, but the first speaker we have coming up is Darisha Bastine.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to take this time to thank you all for taking a chance and actually being here at the 10th Annual iLead Conference. So go ahead and give yourselves a round of applause. For those of you who do not know my name, I am Darisha Bastine. I am the current Vice President of the Xi Epsilon chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I also serve as a peer coach, where it is my sole mission to ensure our freshman students feel a sense of belonging to our university. And I humbly serve as your Boca Raton campus governor. But enough of all the leadership titles and the positions I possess. I am here to speak to you about how I stepped out and became the CEO of my success. I have a question. How many of you all knew that you would be where you are today 5 years ago? Yes, so we're all on the same accord. I'm going to be quite frank with you all. Exactly 5 years ago, I could not have imagined myself being where I am in 2017. Exactly 5 years ago, I was a high school student growing up in a non-traditional household, single mom. I was a victim of bullying, and I've also faced many challenges double minorities like myself face on a day-to-day basis. I've been physically abused by my peers because I was different. I was called every name in the book, other than that of which was given to me by my mother at birth. And I've even had to change schools 3 times over the course of 5 years. And like many great entrepreneurs, you're going to face constant criticism, constant challenges, constant disbeliefs from society, telling you that you cannot do what you want to do, telling you that who you are is not okay. But I'm here to tell you, to tell them that you will not determine my fate. I didn't just wake up one day and got to where I was. I had to fight, I had to push, and I had to pull to get to where I am today. And I am grateful to say that I was fortunate enough to graduate from high school with a 4.9 GPA. I was fortunate enough to get accepted into over 14 different universities throughout the United States. I've gotten the opportunity to serve as the president of my teen outreach program in Miramar, Florida. But above all, I made the best decision to become an FAU owl. So you may be sitting in your seat asking yourself right now, how could a once mentally abused, troubled teenager find what she considered success through it all? I'm here to tell you. The gag is, no, I'm just kidding. Many great entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg had to look beyond their circumstance. They had to take the time and peek into their future. And like them, I had to do the same. But you must understand, as a leader, things will not always go as planned. That there are going to be constant detours and reroutes. And some doors may even close, but I can guarantee you those obstacles will bring you one step closer to where you need to be in your life. For example, John Pendleton. You may not know who he is, but you will, I promise you. He was an American pharmacist who knew that he wanted to become a commercial success. So he decided to develop a drug that would relieve not only his pain, but those around them. He just so happened to fumble upon the recipe for Coca-Cola, the world's most famous beverage. And quite similar to him, you may not know my name now, but you will know my name in the near future. And I, too, with aspirations of opening my own not-for-profit reproductive health care clinic, could have never imagined becoming your Boca Raton campus governor, where I am able to be a political force for you all. And more importantly, this opening of this door in particular may not seem like it fit right into my vision, but I can guarantee you it will allow me to build endurance, gain the emotional intelligence I am going to need to operate my clinic, and it will also allow me to gain some connections along the way. For those people will be the ones to invest in my future. So you must be appreciative of those reroutes. Another thing, many great entrepreneurs, they must be accepting of failure. We're not too fond of failure along the way, but I can guarantee you that your failures will contribute to your success. Unlike some individuals who often bathe in their success, I constantly look for those criticisms, those conversations that may have been a result of failure, and I use them to feed my intrinsic motivation to be the best leader I could possibly be. So we've mapped out the vision. We've been accepting of the obstacles. We showed our gratitude for our failures. We may have tumbled and fumbled upon many rocks and pebbles along the way, but we live life knowing that we have no regrets. Why? Because we've taken risk. And like all great entrepreneurs, you must take those risks. I've taken the risk of becoming a first-generation college student, regardless of my financial hardships. I've taken the risk of putting others before myself while being a servant leader here on campus. But more importantly, I am above all happy that I've taken the risk to speak to you all today, open and honestly, and share my story for the very first time. Because me taking the time to invest in you all will contribute to your spirit as an entrepreneurial leader. Thank you, and go Owls.
Thank you, Duresha. And now, please welcome to the stage our next presenter, Ana Larrea Albert.
Well, good afternoon, FAU leaders. You know, I got a chance to, it was actually a privilege, to meet some of you and my fellow speakers last night, and I have to tell you, I am proud. As a double FAU owl myself, undergrad and executive MBA, I am proud of you. I am proud of the work you're doing to develop yourselves as leaders. If you are the future of this country, we're going to be just fine. My name is Ana Larrea Albert. I am the Vice President of Marketing and Customer Experience for a European multinational company. I am the youngest, only American, only Latina, and one of only 2 women in the entire management team. And I owe that, thank you. And I owe a lot of that to my education here at FAU. But my entrepreneurial spirit thrives in the work that I do as president and founder of Menani, a leadership platform that empowers and equips women to reach their highest potential. So I'm going to talk to you today as future entrepreneurs. But what I'm going to tell you applies to all of you as leaders. So, as talented entrepreneurs, you have this amazing product. You want to make sure that you market it. You want to make sure that the logo, the colors, the packaging, the website, the content of the website, all that brand package tells a story to the world of how valuable your product is to the market, right? You know what else needs a solid branding strategy? You, the founders. The leaders. Now, some of you might tell me, Ana, I am more of a behind-the-scenes kind of person. I much rather focus on the product. Why brand myself? Because you, individually or as a team, are the essence behind that product, behind that company. You are the ideators, the creators, the disruptors that both your investors and your customers are betting on. Okay, you have a lot of things on your plate, you have deadlines to complete. Who has time to be thinking about personal branding? Here's the tricky part. If you are not intentionally crafting your brand, your story, on your own terms, somebody else is going to define it for you, and it might not be the story you want to hear. Now, what if your thing is, I don't care what other people think of me? That's fine too. But understand that the time, the effort, the thought that you put towards portraying that persona is you crafting your personal brand as somebody who doesn't care what other people think of them. You see how that works? So control the narrative. Now, am I asking you to pretend to be somebody you're not? Absolutely not. It just doesn't work. People see right through it. Oscar Wilde told us, be yourself, everyone else is taken. What I am asking you is to be the best version of your authentic selves. Everything you say, how you say it, how you present yourself, how you dress, the firmness of your handshake, the quality of the work you turn in, your work ethic, your social media presence, all of that is your brand package. All of that is telling a story to the world. So what I'm asking you is to make sure that story is aligned with your values, with your passion, with your purpose. My brand, my story, is about empowering myself by empowering others. I will not be successful unless I help others succeed. And that's exactly what I do with Nenani. That is exactly what I strive to do every day as a coach, as a mentor, as a speaker, as a colleague, as a boss, as a mother, as a wife. Every interaction is an opportunity for you to elevate your personal brand, elevate your story. Tell a story of competence, trustworthiness, creativity, persistence, integrity. Tell a story that inspires and influences others to join you in creating that impact that you want to create in the world. You own your future. So own your personal brand. Own your story. Own the legacy you want the world to know you for. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And now, please welcome to the stage our next presenter, Koji Sims.
Good afternoon! Hello! How many of us have seen the Pirates of the Caribbean film, the first one? Should be most of you, yeah. Came out back in 2003. I was 8. It had just hit DVD, and I watched it with my family at home. And you remember the skeletons? There were many of them, so you should. Those spooked me a little bit more than I had anticipated when I saw the film. I didn't know that was a primary theme, so I knew that I was going to have a nightmare. I'm sure we all remember that feeling. Some of you may know it today. And I didn't know what to do because I don't have the mental strength or discipline to control my dreams. I certainly don't now. I definitely didn't have when I was 8. So I just had to kind of find a way to put myself to sleep without freaking out. And what I ended up doing was just trying to calm myself enough to go to bed so I could have the nightmare and get it over with. And it was at once an act of resignation and an act of necessity. Oh, that'll make sense in a minute. Okay, in 3 minutes. In the process of calming myself down and accepting, what was about to happen, I realized a nightmare is just fear, kind of like smacking you in the face while you're asleep. And there's nothing real or physical or tangible, yeah, just a little, there's nothing real or physical or tangible that it can actually do to you. It's just discomfort. It's just fear. And when I realized that, it was not this articulate because I was 8, but when I realized that idea, I thought, well, hey, that's not such a big deal. I can just be afraid. If I'm super afraid, I'll wake up and I'll go back to bed. Like, worst comes to worst, I wake up, I can't go back to sleep, and my life moves on. It was great. It was a great evening. I still remember the nightmare. It was really excellent, very cinematic, high grade, high value. I tell that story frequently. I'll tell you later if you like. I started to notice that fear of fear is what keeps a lot of people from doing a lot of things. And again, I was 8, so it took me a while to really kind of figure that out. But once I started to see how it manifests itself in daily life, I decided that I wanted to figure out why. Because there are plenty of things to be scared of, sure, like car accidents, planes, clowns. The new movie It just kind of surfaced, which is having some really interesting responses. And there are also plenty of stories of people being afraid of those things, of other things, and still doing something about it. So I was not satisfied with just, oh, people get scared and don't do stuff. And what I decided was the best way to determine the answer was to have a closer relationship with fear. Makes sense to me. The way that I did that was I had to put myself in more uncomfortable situations. How does one do that? I'm an impulsive individual. Same. And I used that to my advantage. How many of us, when you get scared, hesitate? You probably know. Yeah, most human beings do. I used my impulsive nature to defeat that. So the less time I had to think about and dwell on my fear, the less time I had to hesitate, which meant that I would be more likely to act immediately. And that made me it made me quicker, that's for sure. I started becoming impulsive with my risk-taking. So talking to people, developing new relationships, making poor decisions with with relationships, applying for jobs, like whatever it was, going places. I was just trying stuff. I didn't allow myself to become slowed down. I didn't allow myself to hesitate. And my standard for what was stressful, for what was scary, got way higher. And pretty soon I was traveling all over Florida, then I was traveling all over the country, then I was traveling out to Vietnam and Hong Kong. And what I learned throughout that whole process was that it's not just fear. Like, it's super not. It's negativity. How many of us have had a nightmare in which, nightmare is a common theme, how many of us have had a nightmare in which you were like running down a really long hallway and you never got to the end? A few people should have had that. Yeah, we've all heard of it, I think. It's like there's something chasing you, or the walls are closing in, and you just like cannot get to the exit, and it's horrifying. It's uncomfortable. I've not had one, but I understand the feeling. When you're afraid, that's what real life feels like. Your view becomes narrowed. It feels like the positive outcome, the potential positive outcome, is really far away. The negative outcome is right on your heels, trying to like bite you or something, and you don't really know what to do. The reality is that the exit's like right here in front of you, and you have your eyes shut, and you can't find the doorknob. If you just open your eyes and figure it out, you would realize, like, oh, hey, this is not as tricky as it seems. But so many of us become petrified. And we have a common misconception in our society that people are fearless. That's just not true, simply. Social media, cultural norms, social norms, it makes really easy for us to pretend that we're not afraid of things. It makes it really easy for us to appear as though everyone's awesome, and we're doing really great, and nothing is bad. And that's even more prominent in a society like ours that really prizes, especially lately, entrepreneurial spirit and, success and leadership. Like, it's so easy to just fake it. And everyone's horrified all the time, and they just don't talk about it. And I don't really understand why, because it's kind of a fun feeling. Once you figure out how to avoid the hesitation, it's not that you're ignoring the fear. It's not like it's not there anymore. Like, you're still frightened, you're still terrified, but you're still doing stuff. So it's kind of like you just took an injection of fear, and you're like, you're freaking out, but you're trying to make it work. It's awesome. It's so exciting. I really encourage you to try it out. And that feeling of like kind of fluid motion while you're horrified is bravery. Like, that's what that is. That is courage. And for some reason, we do not engender that in one another. I don't know why. I'm sure we could have a really great conversation about it. But I think that the key is you need to find out what you have to do to take that out. Because here's the analogy that you're about to have. We've all seen squirrels. There are squirrels everywhere in Florida, especially on this campus. When you see a squirrel jumping from tree to tree, it runs to the end of the branch, it focuses on the destination very clearly, looks at nothing else, and then it jumps, and it lands. Or it doesn't, and it has to deal with that outcome when it happens. People run to the edge of the branch, focus on the destination, and then they're, oh no, maybe not. Maybe I should, you know what, I should do some more calculations and make sure that the distance is right. I should call my friends and see if there's a better branch to go to, because I've heard bad reviews about this one. Why? Why do we do that? It's so silly. Like, you see, those squirrels that hesitate end up on the side of the road. They die. You don't want to be a dead squirrel. I don't want you to be a dead squirrel. Don't be a dead squirrel. There's no, I'm so desperate to help you with this. There's no like 12-step process. There's no magic pill. There's no, here's the perfect book or perfect video or like online coaching program. There's not. There's just you making a decision to act. That's it. It doesn't make you good, bad, right, or wrong. It just means if you want that, if you want to be able to do things, if you want to live a life in which fear is not the barrier in your way, you gotta make it happen. You gotta pull a Nike and like just do it. You gotta. That's it. So if there's anything that you leave with today from me, from this whole thing, Please make it Don't Be a Dead Squirrel. Thank you.
Thank you, Koji. And now, please welcome to the stage our next presenter, Gabby Gibbons.
All right, I don't know about any of you guys, but my heart is racing standing on the stage. So I want everybody to close your eyes. How many of you want to be a great leader or entrepreneur today, but have no idea what your business is? Raise your hand. Keep your hands raised. How many of you even doubt you have the ability to make that great change? Maybe it's lack of experience, maybe it's failure, maybe it's just fear. Whatever the case is, someone told you that leadership is not your business. Now open your eyes. My hand is raised because I've been in the same boat. But I'm here to tell you today that leadership is your business. And if you aren't living a life leading your own legacy, then today is the day, and it's time to rewrite the narrative. Before I get ahead of myself, let me introduce myself. My name is Gabby Gibson, and I'm a junior here at FAU. I'm a Parliament resident assistant. I'm majoring in secondary English education. I'm a big Disney enthusiast, and if you couldn't already tell, I'm terrified of public speaking. With all that being said, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing on this stage today. When they asked me to speak about leading as an entrepreneur, I said yes, I was excited, but then the fear began to set in. I mean, I'm not a business savvy, tech savvy, risk taker. I'm not an innovator. I'm a storyteller. My best business is not in success, it's in failure. And I know you're probably wondering, what do all these people have in common? What do risk takers, storytellers, entrepreneurs all have in common? They share themselves authentically and boldly, and they trip over their words all the time. They thrive in their businesses because they invest in the unconventional and the clumsy and the feared. They invest in breakdowns in order to thrive in a business of breakthroughs. So, because I love telling stories, I thought I would tell you guys a story myself. Once upon a time, there was a little girl. She was always dressed in her blue Cinderella dress-up gowns, never left the house without her tiara, and she never once thought to not carry a journal and a pink pen. She loved fairy tales, believed in the power of wishes, and she believed that one day, she hoped, that getting hit in the face with a soccer ball during recess would surely gain her a spot in the royal lineup. Years passed down the road, and this girl grew to be one of the most unconventional dreamers there was. She had her head stuck in the clouds, but she decided that instead of wearing her Cinderella dress-up gowns, she wanted to wear her medals of academic honor. She chased the top spots in swimming, and she wanted to be the best. She didn't just want to be the best. She had to be the best. And that competition led to comparisons that were so heavy that she wanted to just quit after she failed. But when she met this failure, she thought, why can't my failures launch me into flight just like my successes? Once upon a time, this girl was me. I grew up in a big family on the north side of Jacksonville, Florida. I had an older brother, a twin sister, and 2 younger sisters. The house was never quiet, and I was never alone. You probably imagine that's probably great, and it's true. It was the bomb. But I also grew very, very familiar with sibling rivalry. My biggest competition was my twin sister. Her name was Annie. And because we're twins, we started competing in the same sports. And pretty soon, the epitome of my success rested in me beating my sister. It rested in somebody else's storyline. And so the day came when I saw that success. And I saw it in beating her because they put us in the pool together. And they said, Annie, Gabby, take your marks. You're going to have the race of a lifetime. And so we did. I was pretty confident, though. Annie was our star backstroker of the team. I was a team butterflyer, and we were doing butterfly. So I took off the wall, and pretty soon I came back. I was breathless, but I looked up, and y'all, I saw success because I had finally beaten my sister in the pool. It felt great. But then I looked at my coach, and you know what she did? She turned my success into failure by saying, Gabby, your sister's goggles fell off, and she probably would have beat you if her goggles didn't fall off. If your heart is thinking like mine is, you get the picture. This was my breaking point because I wanted to quit. And you know what happened? I did quit. I left swimming. I left the sport I love. Now pause. In every story we've come to love, in every fairy tale we love, there's a plot twist where the hero finally realizes they've had what they were looking for all along right inside of themselves. In the same way, leaders find their business and entrepreneurs find their business when they decide to look up, leave the pack, build their own business, and share it regardless of what anybody says. This was when I decided to rewrite my narrative, when I decided this was my plot twist. I'm not going to give up. This is when I decided that failure could still fly. All I had to do was rise. Rise. R-I-S-E. R. Recognize. Who or what holds you back? There are so many times in our life when the person that we think is holding us back isn't the person outside of ourselves. It's us. And when we recognize that, we build a business of learning ourselves. And when we learn ourselves, we can consistently produce success because our success is in our storylines and no one else's. Then you have to interpret, shift your goal. Instead of saying, I'm going to be the best because I have to be the best, I want you to say, you know what? I'm going to fall, and I'm going to look at that rock bottom and look up because that's the only way you're going to go. Then I want you to S, stand on your truths. What did you believe was possible until someone else convinced you it wasn't? Maybe it's your story, your identity, your values. I want you guys to stand strong in the things that make you you. Stand strong in the things that will launch you into incredible leadership and light. Own yourself, because if you don't own it, nobody else will. Then finally, I want you to explore, create, and share. Our best business as leaders is to constantly give back to our community. In the same way, entrepreneurs build their businesses in order to create new and exciting ways to share with the world. And then storytellers do the same thing. They share their stories because they give us our why and our motivation. And that motivation is an invincible power that no one can take away. When I quit swimming, it was hard. It was rough. And when I quit, I decided I was going to explore a new passion. And then I explored my paths and created my voice to give back to you guys. And I created with the intent to share. Because you have to remember, when you share, that's how you serve. You have nothing to prove to the world, but you have everything to share. When you rise, you realize that success and leadership in building your business is not just in a position. It's a constant pursuit. So no matter where you guys write the story, that's on you. Nobody else can write it. That's the power of telling your story. And so to all of us who have grown up in some kind of realm of failure, I'm not going to wish us pixie dust, and I'm not going to wish us a happy ending, even though I really want to, because we don't need it. We've had an incredible power right inside of ourselves all along. We hold the incredible power to rewrite the narrative, to stop the story, and give it our voice. So maybe this time around, for all my fairy tale lovers, the pumpkin will stay a pumpkin. But it's your choice to choose the ending. So I challenge you. I challenge you to believe in your stories, believe in your successes, but most importantly, believe in your failures. I dare you. Pick up the pen and rewrite the narrative.
Thank you, Gabby. And now, please welcome to the stage our next presenter, Felix Hartman.
What's up? Got to do this for the gram. Hey. All right, what's up, guys? So there I was in the lobby of my hotel in Paris. It was 5 a.m. in the morning, and I had just gotten back from a long night out. And right around that time, when I was ready to call it a night, one of my contacts over from the US sent me multiple messages urging me to get on a conference call right then and there with his business partner. So I put on my clothes again, went downstairs to the lobby, and hopped on the call. After a couple of minutes of the typical, small talk flattery, we got straight to business. They wanted to buy a company I had just built over the previous 20 days for $50,000 right then and there on the spot. Now, I could have traveled for quite a while longer if I would have taken the deal, but I decided to decline because of the potential of the business. But still, that moment made me think. How did I get there? How was it that I was traveling Europe on a whim with my trading profits, that I had a potential acquisition with one of my companies for a high 7-figure number, and just got offered the median annual household income for a project I created 20 days ago? You see, I'm not using these numbers to impress you, but much rather to impress upon you the impact we can have at such a young age. You see, money to me is much more a quantification of the value we can serve to others. And you know, at 22, I should be looking for an internship. I should be looking for that well-paid corporate job. But somehow I was here. So I kept thinking about it, and I started to realize that it was the decisions that I made years ago. And a lot of them, the decisions I made while I was sitting in your seats, right here at FAU, that led me to the present moment. The decisions that were the ripples that will plant the seeds for the opportunities that arise every single day for me. So let's take it back. Back in 2014, I pledged a fraternity here at FAU, and I was a pledge. And I was also broke, so I couldn't afford going to formal. But at the same time, I had a big trading investment portfolio, which I've earned with my hard-earned cash on minimum wage. So I could have splurged my money right and left and, you know, had a good time, but I decided not to do so because it wouldn't take me further. Now, in 2015, also still a full-time college student, I was working on 3 different startups, which have all since gone to startup heaven, you know, like most startups do. And you know, it was failure after failure after failure, and I should have seen myself as just an utter massive failure. But somehow I didn't, because look, most people never even start. And a lot more people, they quit the second the market slaps them in the face. But you see, you have to stick through these moments. And that's what led me to 2016, when I was finally running my first fully investor-funded startup. You see, at that time, I was still a full-time college student. I just graduated last May. But the crazy thing was my day-to-day routine was getting up at like 6 a.m., getting to class at 8 a.m., and leaving the office at midnight. Most people wouldn't call that fun exactly, you know? And it only made it harder when every single Friday I would check Snapchat, and I would see all my friends pounding down the drinks over the Cove, and I was thinking, you know, I kind of want to be there, but I've got too much responsibilities on my shoulders to leave. So what happens is you start choosing your tomorrows for today, but when tomorrow seems to never come, you start questioning whether you sacrificed all your yesterdays for nothing. So you might start seeing a pattern here. You will never live an extraordinary life until you do what ordinary people are not willing to do. So generally people, that's the irony, compare themselves by their peers. They say, hey, I want to be the smartest, I want to be the strongest, I want to be the most successful, generally of your group of friends. But at the same time, you're unwilling to do more than what the others are doing. So, you know, it just makes sense. To get superlative results, you need superlative actions. So if you want to be the smartest, you probably need to be the one that studies the most, or be the strongest and bench the most, you know? So whatever the result is, the actions need to be aligned. But somehow, we always make responses like, well, they're not doing it, so why should I? Or I've got all this time, or perhaps my favorite, I'm on track. What does on track even mean? Who decides what the track is? Because generally the track is what society as a whole decides for you. And you know, if everybody is on track, then I'm sorry, but on track by definition means average. And I mean, I don't want to be too hard here, but average in the United States generally means slightly overweight, slightly depressed, definitely very unhappy with your career, and you have to make a living with $50,000 a year for 2 adults and 2 children. It's not that great. And look, entrepreneurship, which we're talking about today, is your golden ticket to escape that and to really live a creator life with more wealth and more impact. Because look, to me, entrepreneurship is taking risks to create value for others. Just look at the big people. We got Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates. They created tools that have allowed millions of people around the world to create businesses, to make a living, and to connect with their loved ones. And as a result, fairly, they got paid. So it's win-win. As a matter of fact, a child in Africa right now that has a smartphone has more advanced technology than President Bill Clinton had 20 years ago. So you are able to make the world a better place. So all these narratives that exist right now about, entrepreneurship, wealth being, taking away from others is false. Entrepreneurship is not a zero-sum game, but much rather you can create value. You can create wealth by creating products or services that enrich the lives of the many. And as a result, you benefit as well. It's just like when you go on an airplane. What they always tell you is, in the case of an emergency, you put on your own safety mask first. And then once you have it, you help as many people as possible. So the more you succeed financially or else how, the better position you will be in to help as many people as possible, the people you love and the causes you care about. So when you leave here today, set those big goals, the big goals that inspire you, focus on things that you love doing. And then don't wait till tomorrow and think that it will happen in one big stride, because goals aren't accomplished in big strides. They're nailed out day by day, week by week, month by month, by small steps that you take over and over. And overall, don't be afraid of failure. That's the risk you have to take. Be willing to accept failure, because you might fail once, you might fail twice, 3 times, maybe a lot more times, but one day you will. And that's worth it. So, embrace the failure and don't push off your dreams till tomorrow. The sooner you'll start, the sooner you'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Felix. And now, please welcome to the stage, Jaron Bornstein.
Come on, FAU, make some noise. Hello, hello, hello. Social entrepreneurship. Don't worry if you're clueless on the meaning before today, you're not alone. I didn't know either. What's it mean to you? For me, it means perseverance. It means being able to take those punches that life will throw right to the chin. Eat them, digest it, and figure out what happened. For us in engineering, it's called root cause analysis. What failed, and how can I prevent it from happening again? I say this because a little over 4 years ago, I was once broken. I stepped foot out of jail, and I had nothing. I had nothing but all of the excuses in the book that got me there in the first place. My mother died, my father wasn't really around too much, nasty divorce, you name it. Was it sad? Absolutely. But the world was going to move on with or without me. It does not care. And I'll never forget that night that I had that revelation. I was sitting in jail in my 3rd week, and I looked to my left, and this guy was arrested for drugs. And I looked to my right, he was arrested for assault. And I thought to myself, I don't want to be like any one of you people. And that's when it hit me so hard. That was the hardest pill I have ever swallowed in my life. I am one of you. I'm locked up in the same cell. But it's funny because I knew my whole life I wanted to be an engineer. My grandmother, though, that woman called it out from the day I was born. She called me the engineer of the family. I was always tinkering with the house electronics and breaking the home computer. Sorry, that was me. And even my first memory, I think I was 3 years old. I'm trying to stick a fork in the electrical socket, and my mother comes out, thoroughbred Venezuelan, thick accent, like, "Ay, Chad, no, don't do that." Freaking out. God bless her, it's one of my favorite memories. Right, born to be an engineer, but math was never a strong point for me. I failed so many math classes, it took me 2 years just to get into college algebra. That's 4 semesters just to get in. And I can never forget the woman's face at another college campus. My counselor looked at me square in the eye and said, "Jaron, you have failed so many math classes. It's time to be real. You are not cut out for engineering." It was such like a point-blank attitude. Did not care. And it's hilarious because the joke's on her. Today, I'm in the mechanical engineering honors program. Thank you. That honors program meant the world to me. But you have to fight for what you want. Even this year, on my 27th birthday, March 14th, was the most lonely and depressing times of my life. Needless to say, when you get out of jail, you don't really have the most secure foundation in the world. So when things unravel, they unravel quick. I was homeless, living in my Ford Taurus for 9 weeks. 9 weeks is a long time to be denied 5 separate times for housing assistance. Those 9 weeks were long, but I kept fighting. I kept fighting until I finally met President Dr. John Kelly and Vice President Dr. Corey King to be awarded and honored to accept my first scholarship. What a moment to realize you made it from that lonely jail cell to the presidential suite. And 3 days later, I was blessed further with a beautiful dorm right here on campus. You have to fight. You have to fight. Thank you. Thank you. Even after jail and after drugs and lying and stealing, I kept fighting. That's not who I am, right? You got to come to terms with your past. Even after all of that, as I look around the room, people listen. The past is the past. It's so evident now. I was fighting all of those years to place myself on this very stage here today, honored to be speaking to you all. I took a lot of work. That's why I say you got to fight for what you want, right? And nothing's going to be handed to you. And from that point, after I met President Dr. John Kelly, greatest man, I went further because, give me a round of applause. Thank you. You got to come to terms with who you are as a person. When you can answer those deep, deep insecurities, you can find comfort in your own identity. You'll find happiness everywhere instead of searching for it by any means. And this is not just some nice fairy tale story. This is my reality. I am not here to blow smoke at myself like, oh, look at me. Oh, I'm on the stage. No, I am only here to be the proof that it's okay to fail. I know I speak to every one of you in this room in one way or another. Embrace your failures and find your root cause. Because once you're able to process those deep insecurities and come to terms, you'll be on that path to being that social entrepreneur. For me, when I was able to process my own problems and come to terms with myself and figure out me from the inside, my life, it became beautiful. When I was able to turn around and to be there for others, my life became a blessing. That's why I say figure out who you are. What makes you happy? What gives you a reason to live? What makes you wake up in the morning ready to go? Because once you're able to figure that out, you're on such a nice path to find your genuine happiness. It's not that hard. It's not. I'm living proof that it's okay to fail. I mean that. And that's why I say, you've got to come to terms with yourself. And after all of that, to be able to still be on this very stage here today is the most humbling thing in the world. Because I've accepted my past, just as all of you should accept yours. It's okay to have your failures. I don't know why it's looked down upon so heavily. Embrace them. They define you for who you are. They give you that reason to keep going. You've got to fight. Me today, I'm not who I was in my past, and neither are you. And you should all take pride in knowing that. Because today, I'm in the Mechanical Engineering Honors Program. I'm running my own company. And I'm not full of doubt. Nope. I'm the Director of Business Development for Owls Racing, my fellow teammates right here. And I am not full of doubt, no way. I kept moving forward. After I'm running my own company for a while, you start to figure out what works and what doesn't. And what I've come to realize is it doesn't matter. As long as I'm happy, I've got no reason to be going bad and messing with people because I know I put my head down very easy at night. And that's a beautiful feeling. I'm honored to say I'm the first ever engineering elite owl in FAU history. and one of 25 across campus. My life, this success, wasn't suddenly handed to me this morning when I opened 2 beautiful gifts. Because those 2 gifts were both of my eyes. I worked hard for this. It did not come easy. I earned it. And I look to each one of you guys to please follow my footsteps and do the exact same thing. Do the exact same thing. Why can't you? What's stopping you? Only you, right? When you're able to take those battle wounds and lick them straight to the face, it defines your character that you can take those battle wounds. Like it's no major deal. Embrace your failures, right? I've been sitting here preaching it all day. Sometimes your life doesn't go according to the script that you had written. You got to move out and be able to improvise, innovate, right? FAU loves to throw that term around, innovation. You've got to be able to build that muscle. If you're sitting there and you want to be comfortable in life, then stay exactly where you are. Stay seated. But if you want to get up and do something with your life, you have to push yourself and put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit back and relax. I don't want to do anything. I'm comfy. I'll sit right here. Figure out who you are. What makes you tick? Because the social entrepreneur, they know exactly that. They know what makes them tick. And I'm here to be the living proof that it's okay to fail. Straight up. I'm on this stage honored because I look around and the craziest part is people listen. So please take my failures and preach them to yourself that it's cool. Get to know who you are on the inside. My name is Jaron Bornstein, and I am proud to be on the stage, honored to be speaking to you guys today. I know exactly what makes me tick, and I'm here to be the light to prove to you guys that when you find it, anything is possible. Anything. My God, to go from that lonely jail cell to standing on this stage, anything is possible. I have made all the mistakes in the book, believe me. I am not proud of them, but I've processed them and figured out who I was. And I know what makes me tick. That's my message. My question to you all is, do you? Do you know what makes you tick? I'm going to ask you guys all to find what makes you happy. Wake up tomorrow and find what makes you happy and do it well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaron. And now, please join me as the rest of our presenters come back to the stage in one more round of applause. Send all the presenters out.